It's been 3 million years since I made a video. Playing with my latest project right here, which is a Dell C6100, which is a cloud series machine. This particular configuration is their 4-node with the 3.5-inch chassis, which means 3 disks to a node. In my case, that's 2 SSD boot disks and everything else coming over the network for storage. This is what one of the node boards looks like. Like I said, in this config you can see you've got 3 connectors going to this interposer board where the power is on, where it gets power from a mid-span board, and then all the other good stuff that would be in the front of the server. You're looking at the back ass of the server. Dual power supply shared between all 4 nodes. Failover, this will run all 4 on one if you had to for the minute. Blah blah blah. Seems to be, this might be the same power supply as the C2100. I'm not sure. I do know this though. As you can see here, you got 12 RAM slots in total, 2 1366 CPU cores, PCI Express X16 riser, another PCI Express on a mezzanine card that's made for some 10 gig and some other cards, or an LSI disk controller with a really weird cable. And by really weird, I don't mean the regular mini SAS. I mean really weird isn't really weird because there's this cable that goes to the interposer board that comes from the motherboard. If you had a 2-node system, you'd have 6 going up here, and if you had the LSI card, you'd have a 4-wire and a 2-wire and 2 additional GPIO leads that all would go to up to the mid-span board. This particular system is weird because this is actually a C6105 chassis, which is the AMD version, but the node boards from the C6100 Intel version fit. And the main reason we've done that is because where these were sourced originally and how I ended up with this server was as payment for something. And this is the C6100 chassis that has no backplane. There is no backplane, there is no power harnesses going up to the backplane. There is the mid-span boards that you see here, okay, that power and the dual mini SAS connectors are mated to. And they have GPIO split, and they go to SATA cables that go into the back of the backplane here. This is the front of the machine here, as you can see where the discs are all in it. You could technically hack one of these up to do something other than what it's intended for, but I don't recommend it. I got very lucky because the one underneath this is retrofitted. This is a friend that bought this machine from the same source that I got mine from. And I've retrofitted his, and the cost of retrofitting ended up being what the cost of a chassis was, as I found somebody that had brand new old stock parts. There was a brand new old stock, never built, never assembled chassis, brand new sealed in Dell plastic. So I picked it up because it was inexpensive, and it was just as cheap, if not cheaper. As a matter of fact, it was a little bit cheaper than retrofitting all the parts to the other chassis and having to use some non-standard cables. Where that will never take SAS disks now, it will only take SATA. And the way these nodes are configured, they're going to only run SATA disks anyway, but if you were to buy the LSI card and the proper cables, you could have run SAS if the backplane and the other one was set up for it. This one it technically is, so I could convert to their LSI card if I wanted to, but there's really no reason to do that in this type of configuration. Because A, it's still set up for 3 nodes per disk, and B, all of my storage comes over this guy, which is a 10 gig Ethernet card. This one is from Mellanox, or has a Mellanox chipset on it rather. It's actually an HP part number. Not all the HP cards are set up this way. Some of the HP cards are actually next-gen cards, which are nasty. You have to flash firmware on them, and it's not fun. As you can see, here's one of them installed here. And then here's the ports that you get. You get 2 USB ports, a couple of Ethernet ports. Pardon the shakiness here. There's nothing I can do to hold my phone. It's an LG Stylo too. This thing's a piece of shit. So here's your handlebar, the yank bar, the I hate this fucking thing bar, the I need a flathead screwdriver bar, whatever you want to call it when these chassis have been manhandled 5, 6, 17, 11 times, and it's a pain in the dick to pull these out. Bar. As you can see, I'm lucky. These are set up to be able to take 10 gigabit cards. I have a feeling, I don't know if these were ordered with that or what the deal was, but they had 40 gigabit InfiniBand cards in them. when the person that I got these from got these chassis, you know, these systems as they were configured. So I don't know what the story was, if the parts were removed, if they were sold that way from DCS, or what the deal was, but all I know is that these will take the 10 gig card, dual port that goes in this mezzanine connector that you see over here, without needing to cut and drill these, which you have to do on the earlier series of these. I'm not sure what the deal is with that. Like I said, I guess I'm just very lucky here with these. So I could, instead of needing this, get the native 10 gig card and free this up. I don't really, in my configuration, have a need to do so. I'm just going to use some extra VLANs to get some different networks worth of traffic on these in a bridge, in a bond, and I won't have an issue. So that's primarily what I'm looking to do with this setup. Right now, where I have my co-location hosted, I have 2 hosts. So in the span of, and they're 1 U each. So in the span of what I'm getting in 2 U's, I can get double the computing power with this. Once this is in and I migrate the VMs over and decommission the old original 2 Supermicro hosts. In future, would I buy these? I'm not entirely sure. I would probably go for, I would more than likely go for Supermicro's 4-node systems because they are more common, and they are always sold as some kind of standard from Supermicro. These being, you know, you can't tell if you're getting DCS or not. With any of these Cloud Series machines, be it a C1100, CS24TY version of that, or a C2100, or I think it's like a CS12TY, something like that, TY3 or some other shit. There's no way to tell what you're getting with those machines. I've got 2 C2100s, for example, which are 2U storage servers, and they have in the top, they've got some room for a couple of SSDs. The issue I have with those is that one of them came with the proper backplane. I did some jumpering and then threw in a different disk controller card, and it was fine. The other one came with a very special backplane with an old SAS connector for the older RAID controller that was in it, and I could not get that. I bought another backplane for it that was an exact fit. I bought the harnesses for it that were exact fit, and it would just not initialize and detect on my controller. Maybe it needed a different GPIO harness, I don't know, but it just would not power up. I still have that backplane. If I ever try to finish that conversion, I may do so, I'm not sure. But I just know that it would not start. When that backplane was in, that backplane would not initialize, it just would not do anything. I don't know if maybe the GPIO signaling was different, I don't know if it's a motherboard problem, I don't know what the deal was, but that was brand new in box backplane, and I could not really say that that was bad. I would have a hard time believing it to be bad, so I'm not sure. So that one's running a different backplane that has, you know, physical disk ID arrangement issues that it would complain about in the original firmware version that was on the card. I flashed it with IT mode so I could use it for ZFS, and that issue went away. So I'm not sure what the deal was with that one. So I have 2 C2100s, and then now I've got one of these. This other one belongs to a friend that I did some retrofitting for. His is the one I retrofitted. I ended up finding this chassis after the fact, which is a shame. Otherwise, I would have bought him a C6100 chassis and just put his nodes in it and said, here you go, it's done. But that's just not how these things always work out. You usually find the perfect fit match or conversion kit for whatever the hell you need after you've already gone fucked yourself, you know, making it work otherwise. Just the way it works in this industry sometimes, unfortunately. So yeah, another plug I'm going to do here real quick is for this little white doohickey you see here from TP-Link. This is a wireless bridge, aka wireless router, aka repeater, aka whatever the fuck you need it to be with the push of a button, lugging into it and playing with it. This thing is fucking great. This has brought us the Ethernet that we needed to get these configured to install the Debian net installation version that I use for these. It has been second to none. Boy, I wish this had image stabilization. That would be very nice. But oh well, such is life. A man can't have everything he wants. But I'm going to go ahead and get this uploaded once I get the 10 gig cards installed in here, or other 10 gig card, I should say. I should have a couple more of these. I might put them in the other nodes, but I would need RAM for them first, as I have moved all the RAM to the 2 nodes on this side, which are 1 and 2. which I will migrate things over to, and then I will pull the RAM out of the first two servers that are the regular 1Us, put their RAM into these two. I have the low profile cards for the 10 gig cards that are in those servers, and they will be moved into here, so we will be on a single chassis with these two boards here will match with 48 gigs apiece. The other two, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to split that up, but I will probably split the RAM up between the two to try to get an even amount of memory in there across these two sets. So we will see what that turns into. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to pan out. So I guess the next you see this, I'll either get some footage of when this is installed, whenever that ends up being, if it's this weekend or a couple weeks down the road, or if we do anything else with them here. I suppose that's it. So I ain't dead. I've just been really fucking busy. So I will catch up with you guys when I next have something to post.